Yeah, we only have one person on so far, so we didn't spotlight anything.
Okay.
But it's the same triple dot thing to do that when it gets to be time, you know, when we want to spotlight for everyone, but we only have one person, so we can't do it.
Where do you spotlight? Where do you?
It'll come up once we have more than one person on the list. Yeah. And then this just always needs to be in the foreground for me to click through the clicker.
And it's in the foreground now.
It is, yeah. That I put it offset so you can always tell, you know.
Okay. So all I need to do is really just chat with Pete. What else do I need to do?
These buttons. These are the screens here. If you want to show everyone who's on Zoom on the TVs. Well, actually, only on Zoom they would. So. And then we've got the camera for the podium, the camera for the room, the slides. Okay. And then 4 slides. They're all lined up with these 4.
So if Pete wants to see the speaker, is the speaker going to have slides or is the speaker?
I don't know who the speaker is. They haven't shown up yet.
Oh, that was you, Bill.
Bill's been sitting alone.
I would chat with Pete then. And you might tell me what to do. It's fun.
All you really have to do at this point, all you have to do is click these, since we don't have a speaker right now.
So click what?
To go with which camera.
Okay.
1 goes to computer 1, 2, 3. These 4 here are in the same alignment.
So 2 and 3 are
so
cameras.
That's, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what'll show up to people on Zoom. They're right here. So you.
But when I do this, then
everyone in Zoom sees it.
That's what he sees.
Right. Okay. So these, you basically say you want 4. That's 4. 3, 2. 1 would be if you wanted to show people on Zoom a Zoom presenter, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. How many inches there?
Great. So now we can spotlight.
This is our new member, John. This is the guy that we had the old.
No, you have to select spotlight for everyone.
Oh.
And then now it is. The bell is less dingy. I don't know, something going on with it. It doesn't like being at an angle. I don't know. Good to see y'all. Good morning. Please. All right. Well, it's May 4th. So all jokes aside, happy first 4th of May of the May month of our meetings. So I wasn't going to go there. All right. All right. Well, good to see y'all. It's our second time in this space, and we've got a lot more people today than last time by about 1 full table. So that's exciting. You have to click on the presentation in the left corner, and that way I can use the remote. There we go. All right, we are recording, and everything is already going to go up on YouTube by the end of the day. So don't say anything you don't want your grandkids and great grandkids to see someday down the line. Today's meeting agenda, we've got one extra thing on the agenda today. If you look on the bottom of the left row, we'll be badging Howard. So that's going to be an exciting part of the day. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys will face the real flag in the back corner there and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. For remain standing real quick, we'll do the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, will it be fair to all concerned? Will it be of goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Will it be fun? Awesome. You can be seated. Thank you. All right, guests today. We have a speaker, but we don't technically have any more guests now. Oh, well, Katie, of course. It's great to have you. Not a guest, but great to have you. Nice to meet you. I know. I've been to your house, but I've not met you. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. And Leslie, if you'd be able to click on the slide deck again.
That's because I'm chatting and then I skip to the other side. So. I'm chatting with Pete and Angie.
Awesome. So Pete and Angie are online. Yeah, now that we have this great space, people are deciding to come in person again. Be great. So we are going to defer our current Rotary Minute person for a later date. So we can talk a little bit about district conference because that will come up in just a moment too. But a Rotary Minute from district conference. Yeah, we had some great conversations with Bucci, who will be our district governor next year. If those who don't know, he's in E-Club 1, which is the first Rotary E-Club. It's based out of here in Boulder originally, and their president, this current year is from Switzerland, and then next year, I'm trying to remember where Priscilla is. Where is she living right now?
She's in Georgia.
She's in Georgia, and Bucci is in that club, and he's in Houston. So there are people from all over the world in that club. So Bucci will be our governor next year for the whole district, and he's going to have to do it a little different. It'll be the first time we'll have an out of district governor, I believe. So it's just going to be an interesting new thing. Is we'll have a group meeting for our area with Bucci that is now in the planning works, and Leslie will get to tell you more about that soon. But Bucci will come and visit, and all 3 Boulder clubs will meet at some location that we're now working on, and we'll get to see Bucci all together with all 3 Rotary clubs. So that'll be his visit for us. But just figured I'd point that out as a Rotary Minute. We're going into new waters, having a district governor from a different state. Yeah, different time zone. So it'll be interesting and different, but definitely excited about it. All right, so anyone have anything to report out on district conference?
We're trying to move back to actual Rotary meeting in person, which I think is wonderful. And so we're selling lottery tickets again, if you're interested. And Jay can pull the number.
Oh.
And it's your problem with somebody.
Does anyone need to get one real quick before we start pulling numbers? No, okay, good job. All right. So I see Jason just walked in. I don't know if he needs one, if it's like a burning desire. All right. The last 3? Oh. All right, well. Okay, then add 5. No. All right, so I'm trying to think of a good 959. Good job. A scripture for you. There you go. All right. Well, any report out from district conference? I know a few folks went. Leslie did. We had Marty and Bob there for dinner. Leslie, do you have anything you want to talk about?
No, I think you introduced the big news is that next year our area is hosting the district conference, which means that all 3 Boulder clubs plus the E-Club 1 are in charge of the agenda, kind of the program. So that's pretty exciting. It was the first time I've been to a district conference. So it gave me some ideas of what we should think about. But it was fun to see and experience that. So I think that was where all the takeaways. It was, they had kind of a youth and mental health theme. So we get to choose what we want to be our theme, which is, I'm thinking using the areas of focus, choosing from the Rotary areas of focus. So there's a lot of options.
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie. And a couple of quick district-based announcements to bring up, which is regarding our international TRF, or the Rotary Foundation donations this year. So the Rotary Foundation and the Rotary year begins July 1st, for those who recall. I know that it's been a whirlwind of COVID the last few years. Start July 1, that's why we do installation. So the numbers that we project based on what we donated to the foundation are connected to that July 1 to June 30th timeframe. So at this point, the annual fund, which is like this world type fund where all the money goes to the Rotary Foundation and they can choose where the money goes based on need. We've already donated over $5,500 this year, and our biggest giving quarter is just at the start. So for that to be said, that's more giving than we've had the last 2 years. So that's pretty phenomenal. We've got a lot of giving. Polio Plus so far, we've already given over 1,000, and I think that it's very likely that we'll probably have at least another 1,000 in that fund by the end of the year. So this year, I think will be one of the most giving years to the Rotary Foundation in the last several Rotary years, which is really exciting. But that said, it's not the end of giving. So if you haven't given yet, or you're not giving your dues, definitely reach out to Mary Beth and Dave and let them know how you want to give. If you're going to give through the Rotary website, which is fine, several of us do that, or if you want to give through dues, they should probably already know that, but yeah, we'll hopefully see this number go up a little bit more for the end of the year. And I don't know, I don't think we're going to catch up to Boulder Road this year. But, yeah, but we're doing pretty good. For us, we're doing really well. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you, because this is more giving than we've had in a long time.
What I think people may not understand is that money is going to come back to us in the form of a matching grant. So we can actually use that money for our purposes if we have the right paperwork. So it's given to Rotary International, but it comes back to us if we want. We have not wanted for 2 years. We haven't done a district matching grant for 2 years, but I think we should.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be applying for district designated funds from TRF this year, and at least one of the grants. The way our district does it's a little different, and we can get into that in another conversation. We'll definitely set up a talk for that. But, yeah, I think there's over $100,000 currently in the district unused in DDF that we have access to. $100,000 that we could ask for, and all we have to do is match it with cash from fundraising or grants that we give within our own foundation. So it's a lot of money you can tap into. Wonderful. So we do have the sign-up sheet. Oh, Sharpie today. This is gonna be exciting. So if you have not signed up to do a Rotary Minute this year, I highly recommend that you look through, put your name down. Some of you have already done one. Some folks have not, but definitely feel free to jump in and do a Rotary Minute. We would love to have you talk about a story about Rotary or a story that you have with Rotary, just for a minute, or if you want to really book it out, let them know 6 minutes. Another thing to point out is that Beth Broker has designed the club. She has external things going on in life that limited her from being able to participate anymore. But right now we're looking for a grants committee chair for next year. And Leslie's taking names of people who are interested so that she can work out that obligation with those people. Currently, Angie has stepped up to manage the grant load that's remaining for this current year. There's a little bit of money left, I believe, that we had already designated, and there are a couple of grants in the system. So she's going to have to go through that and hash out the details of those grants and identify where we currently stand with them and what to do. So apologize if you've got a grant that you've nominated in the system. Angie's going to be working on that and have information out to us within the month.
I have one announcement.
Sure.
Okay, so Fraser has invited us to be involved in their Silverado Oyster Cultura, which, I'm sorry, which Joanne told us about. And so this event is going on from May 9th to June 30th. And I got information about it, but it's like they have a Latinos night from field workers here, what oyster cultura means within our families today, our cultural identity, personal journeys and narratives about who we are. Paul Leonard, his granddaughter, and then they're going to have a fiesta of musicians and folk dancers on May 18th. What? Mariachi. Yeah, that's great. So it's fun. So if you want to go, they have allowed, it's not open to the public, but they are allowing 5 Rotarians per event. So there is a sign up sheet. If you want more information, I have it here. I can't post this on Facebook. It's not open to the public, but I've got a, if you want to come, I'm going and so on Monday, the opening event, and whoever wants to go, just let me know, but it's only 5 that are allowed. But it's a great opportunity for us to get involved with.
Wonderful, thanks, Ann. And would you be able to send us a photo of it so that we could?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Great.
I just wanna.
Thank you so much.
And just to add, they have an exhibit hall, and we have a poster in the exhibit hall, and also that for Adriana Luna. So that's how we're advertising our presence at this particular week-long event.
Thanks, that was important.
So a couple other little things. We had our board meeting yesterday, our monthly board meeting. It is on YouTube. You're always able to go and watch, our board meetings. We're going to be recording them from now on so that they're accessible to everyone. We were able to finally get a vote and a decision on the Marshall fire donation money. So you can see up there, we raised $57.34. 84 cents. But that will be going to Sister Carmen. The decision was made based on looking at all the different opportunities and organizations out there. And that one was one that we knew we could trust. We knew that more of the money allocation was going to go to families and was going to be used for this purpose. So that check will be signed today. Done, signed. So great.
It'll be in the mail in a few minutes.
All right, there you go. Mail after the meeting. Perfect. Garage sale fundraisers. So Kim, I don't know if you want to tell people why we're asking for someone to volunteer.
We're not sure. We have a daughter graduated in Massachusetts. I don't have to do bachelor. If anybody else would like to have a garage sale, in case I can't.
Yeah, so the question is, would you like to have a garage sale? And if you're interested in doing so, is someone willing to volunteer their home, the garage sale time in their neighborhood? If they're having like a neighborhood garage sale, or we could just do an open one. We're generally a little less successful, but this year Kim may be out of pocket for garage sale, which is why we're asking. If not, that's okay. But definitely it's a decent earner for us. Just looking for someone else who may have the right platform to do it. I already noted that Ann, Dave, and I are probably not the best fits. I'm definitely not, because if you do garage sale in my neighborhood, everything will be gone and we'll get no money. All right, well, think about it. Reach out to me if you decide you want to take that on or want to talk about it more. The fundraiser sheet that you submit when you want to do a fundraiser in our club is already filled out from last year. We just have to update the dates and the names. It should be okay. All right, we move on. Howard, it's your time. You want to come on up,
Hey, yeah.
Bob?
Yes. We're gonna do this once again. Jay, you're his mentor, so
Set the find a place to put my mug.
I'm gonna give you his pen. He wishes you. Hello, Rotarians. It's my privilege to the pleasure today to welcome into our membership club Howard Nix. Proposed by our president and Jay, and Jay is also his mentor. Howard submitted his membership application on February 28th and has satisfied all the club requirements for membership. It will be installed as a member of Rotary International today by Joanne, so he will be a Rotarian at the same time as Doug. His classification is private investigator. His partner is Stephanie, and they live in Boulder. His hobbies include jiu-jitsu, archery, snowboarding. He also enjoys to hunt, fish, hunt, and bike. There are many milestones in life that life offers. As a club, we believe that joining Rotary is one of those life-altering moments. Howard, you came to us with a need to be generous with your time and money for the benefit of the community. Your actions have demonstrated our club model service of self. You have joined with you in service of you. Howard comes to us with many skills. He graduated from Emory College with a degree in international studies. And following graduation, he worked on Wall Street for 6 years as a derivative trader, and then became a private investigator. He has spent 20 years building his practice and believes his accumulated skills will be benefit to our club. He has expressed an interest in the grants committee. Howard, you have been accepted for membership in this club because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your nation. Interested in the ideals of Rotary and willing to do your share in translating these ideals into action. You have agreed to accept the obligations of membership in this club and to obey this club's constitution and bylaws. While joining Rotary is an honor and a privilege, it involves corresponding obligations to make meeting attendance a personal priority and to practice the four-way test and all things that you think, say, and do. The community will know and judge Rotary through your example of character and service. We accept you as a member because we believe the principles and objects of Rotary will be safe for you to keep. We most heartily offer you the right hand of Rotary Fellowship. Present Howard with his badge, and we believe that it's
But I don't know if when you say screen, use the television.
I want to get his name there.
Oh, I don't know. Oh my gosh.
Okay, good.
That'll do it.
Go ahead. Go
All right. Well, you didn't know I was gonna ruin the sweater today, did you?
ahead.
All right, there we go. Awesome. Howard, congratulations.
I stand to you in front of Howard Smith, a private investigator and a member of chance to say something now.
Okay. Anything you want.
Anything, you don't have to.
In your basement, anything you want. Anything.
I'll just say I'm very happy to be joining the club. I've been inspired listening to some of the things you guys have done, and I'd like to be an active member, so I look forward to that. Thank you.
All right, now is that time for how, oh, Bob, you got one.
Speaking of money, we got an email back from Megan yesterday. Pizza survived the April cold with minimal damage. I'm waiting to hear back from our box and packing supply company so I can start setting prices. I hope to have the information out by late next week. Looking forward to working with you again this year. This year we have at least 4 Rotary joining us. Littleton and Iowa, and Fury is joining us as well to order pizzas. So 4 groups, I would guess we go above 2,000 boxes in total. 1,700.
Wow, so exciting.
That's very cool.
we had used 50 cents a box is what we. So
Is
just
it
to let you know,
fair, is
just
it
to
fair
let
to
you
all
know.
concerned?
Just-
It depends on how much more work Bob has to do this year. If the work is higher, then yes, $1. If it's not, 50 cents.
And so we'll, over the next month or so, we'll be putting together some meetings to talk about how far we want to take this, whether or not we want to sell in addition to the orders that we take up front ahead of time, takes commitment. The whole thing's going to take commitment, and it's going to be how it's late if we have to give away this.
It's a big deal. And whoever will be the new grants committee chair, whoever that might be, that person will want us to sell a lot of peaches, so they should be your biggest advocate. Let us grab we have our Happy Bucks cups here, everyone. So what I would like to do is I'm going to pass the mic this time, because I think that it does work a little bit. You notice a little bit or not?
Yeah.
It's on, turn it off. Cool. All right, so we'll get started over here at Bill's table. Anyone have any Happy Bucks? Hey, good to see you here.
Yeah, so I'll put in 2 happy bucks. One is just being here in person for the first time in a long time. The second one is we're buying a new house and taking possession May 26th.
Whoa.
That's pretty good. So
What neighborhood?
It's in Eastern Broomfield.
Cool.
You're
Awesome.
not far from us?
No, it's pretty cool, but so maybe next year. We can open the house.
Here now.
Not anymore, that's right.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. Any other at this table? We go to the back table there.
I got a happy buck, go Avs.
Yeah.
I'm just happy they're in the playoffs and we'll see what happens.
I'm happy, well, I'm cranky because with the fog, I couldn't see the mountains this morning, and it really gives me a sense of. I guess it's a cranky day.
I'll just do a happy one. I'm gonna do a happy one. Happy to be here.
All right. Go ahead, Kim. I see you chomping.
I'm so excited. I owe 20. My daughter has been trying for 4 years, 4 miscarriages, finally had So we were back for 2 months, and I'll tell you, I wouldn't have given up that time for anything. Just being here, new life, at our age, we went, God bless us. Anyway, and then I also got to see my 2 boys and their families all over back there, so that's wonderful. Our wonderful girl from Ghana, Vera, got married 3 years ago in Ghana. She was ready to go back because she couldn't get her husband here. He's coming in at 15. So, yeah, and they're going to be together. But I'm telling you, this is just like wrong. We think of all the other ways of getting into the countries, doing it legally.
Mike, it's great to have you here, Mike.
Great to be here. $1 for the rain. Finally came. $1 plug. Any of you
$1 for phones.
okay, that's $1 for the phone. Any of you
Sorry.
only have $4. If any of you support the Family Learning Center, there's a tax thing that you need to know about if you don't. For every dollar, because they're a designated child care credit, something or other. But they send you a form, and in the Colorado taxes, you get half of it back as a tax credit. So if you give $1,000, that's only $500. So that's that. And I had something else, but fortunately I forgot about it. And I only have one.
It's so good to see my friend Kate and John and Dave and who else has it? Ellen. Yeah. And all of you, it's just so great to see you. And also, Mary Beth didn't say, but her birthday is Friday. So, happy birthday, Mary. And then, from the district conference, this is just an addendum. It was, Bob and I just went to dinner, but I wanted to somehow be there, at least a bit for Ray Anderson. He's been a friend for a long time, and I think he's done a great job here with the district. And to see some members of his club, the Hunters Ranch Club, which is my first club, and to catch up with him.
Money, brag on my grandsons. My 10-year-old grandson is, went out for track this year and in the district track meet, countywide, and placed in 4 events. And his first in 2 events. And his younger brother, who's 2 years younger, is gonna be some competition.
I had 5 slack back. I thought for having real news. I like to see. I'm grateful, extremely grateful. The fires have been awful from our house. So let's hope that. So I have to say, I'm turning into. No, she pays every month with her dues, or every quarter with her dues, so she's allowed. I don't. So I have to say, my dog of 13 years, had a good night. She's still born, and I have 5 children. 4 of them in Yemen, and she was my favorite. She was my amazing. So, but she's much better off. She had cancer, bladder cancer, and arthritis, and she was the best.
I have some good news and bad news. The good news is our membership process has been given an award by the district. The bad news is that we were approached by a club who wanted to know how we did things, and so we told them, and they applied for it and got the award.
I sat down for an hour with them to explain the system, and they applied for an award with it, so good for them. We should Bob should take over credit on that one.
You know, $2 happy. One for Howard joining our organization. Welcome again. And we're starting to feel like a real Rotary Club. You know, we've got a flag, we've got a bell.
You're on that camera too, by the way. You can look at the Zoom people. They're right behind you on that camera.
So this is for them too. Thank you.
A happy dollar because only Pete and Angie are on Zoom, and a happy dollar because this room is filled with everybody else.
Definitely. No other lingering remembered ones? Oh, Mike, found a dollar. Where did it come from?
Did one of our members do those shortbread chocolate chip things? You did? They're delicious.
Well, and I have to tell Kim, she wrote a letter to my mother to thank her for the hats, and I just gave it to her because it's been inside that Rotary bag, and I'm never with the Rotary bag and my mother at the same time, which is so happy. But my mom's been coming by every day to work on my house with me. But my mom, you might not know this, but mother and father built their house before I was born. I was born like 3 months before they finished my childhood home. And they built it themselves from like the ground up, everything. Like it's wild. But so she comes by because she always just wants to spend time and work on the house. And so I remembered to give the card. So I want to tell you, she said thank you, but half of it was about me And she was like, yeah, so it's kind of weird you get a thank you card and then have it be about your son, but I realized like, yeah, I raised you, so she wanted to thank you for that. All right, well, that's our happy bucks. Thank you all so very much. We are on to our presentation, but I feel like this may not be the right title that was in the thing for today.
Probably not.
Okay. But if you would be able to introduce our speaker, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So when the NCAR fire was going on, I get these notifications and they're gonna have these press conferences on the side of the mountain. And usually it would be Mike Smith that would kind of come up there, and he was so calm, cool, and collected while giving really good information. So I thought, well, here's a guy that could give some good stories. So welcome Mike Smith. He started his career in emergency response as a junior ski patroller in his hometown of Steamboat Springs. He later became an EMT and worked on an ambulance and steamboat, where he got his first exposure to firefighting. He worked for the United States Forest Service for the majority of his career. In 2012, he accepted a position with the Wildland Division of the Boulder Fire Department. His primary responsibility is managing the prescribed life program for the city of Boulder. He's also the primary incident commander. So welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Bill. It's an honor to be here, and I'm gonna put some money in the happy bucks for the rain. I've had 2 days off in the last 30. So before I get started, did anybody lose their home in Marshall in this group? Okay. I'm going to talk about the Marshall. I'm going to talk about the NCAR. I'm going to talk about the shooting in Table Mesa. And these are all incidents that I had the professional. I hate to say that it's a good thing, but I had the opportunity to be the incident commander on a lot of the large incidents around Boulder. And I'm going to talk about some of that. So I'm going to talk about the framework, about how the national response system works, and a couple of specific incidents. So to give you a kind of an understanding of how these things work. Normally what I would say is I would have a much more polished presentation, but not having much time off lately, I literally went from the Marshall fire to a bunch of prescribed fires that got out of control in Florida, back here to the NCAR fire. From the NCAR fire, from the last 7 years, my friend and I have been planning a trip to Europe to go race bicycles. Got delayed 2 years for COVID. I took the NCAR fire as the incident commander with the understanding that Sunday at 7 p.m. I had to leave because I had a flight at 11, and I still hadn't packed. So my prep time for this presentation was about the 9 minutes I had sitting out here on the round table trying to jot a couple of notes. So if I bounce around a little bit, forgive me. But the way the system works here, and a lot of people always are curious about how we go from a lightning strike or an escape campfire up to what we're seeing currently in New Mexico and Arizona, which is what we call a type 1 incident, or the most complex incident in the nation. And there's a national response framework that we type incidents, and it's not just fire. This actually came from the military on how we scale things up and manage incidents. And so how are we going to take something that has a couple guys and a gal and a fire engine up on the hill to suddenly we're burning down 1,000 homes? And how do we get from A to Z? So that system, that typing is 1 through 5. So a type 5 incident is the lowest complexity incident. Single tree lightning strike on top of a ridge, not very dry, might even be raining, a couple people go up, put the fire out, no big deal. And to get that incident commander, so wildland fire is a lot like the Boy Scouts, and then you get to earn all these different merit badges as you work through your career. You can specialize in aviation and go play with helicopters and fixed wing aircraft, or you can do prescribed fire, you can specialize in all these different things. But as you move through the system, you get these different qualifications, and as you earn those qualifications, it's usually 3 to 5 years per qualification. And sadly, as you get further on in your career, you get more and more of these things, and you are available to the national pool for whatever you're qualified as. So as long as it's wet where you are, the way the system works is there's an assumption that it's going to be wet somewhere always. So somewhere in the country, it's going to be wet, and those resources can kick loose. So we got local resources and then the national resources that come when they can. And what I can tell you is for the last 6.5 months, we've all been grounded because it's been so dry. Last winter was not a great moisture year. And we really didn't have the opportunity to go out and work on the national front. So as we kind of work through the system, again, back to the typing, type 5, type 4 is where it's gotten more complex, and it's going to take somebody that's got more experience to manage multiple resources. So you might get up to 20 to 50 people. You might have a couple of aircraft. You might have some heavy equipment doing those things. The type 5 and type 4 are the fun fires. Forgive me, that's why I always ask you if somebody lost their home. There is a component to fire. The reason that we're in this is it is fun work. It's hard work, but there's not a lot of places that we get paid to go hike up a mountain, find a fire, hang out with some friends, maybe sleep on the ground for a couple days and put it out. For some of us, it's really fun. My wife tells me I've got problems. But it is a great job. So those type 5 and type 4, as an incident commander, you're still fighting fire. You're still digging, you might be stepping back a little bit, but you're still operationally engaged. When it goes to type 3, when we generally say it, you're over 100, 150 acres, complexity is getting greater, is where we actually break the ranks of the incident commander is no longer operationally engaged. The incident commander is now managing the team that is managing the fire. So it's my job as an incident commander. So like during NCAR, started out as a city fire. A battalion chief went out, they had a bunch of things going on. They recognized it was exceeding their experience and capabilities. They needed more logistical support. They needed to start tracking finances and resources. They needed planning support where we're building the plan, the actual physical plan. And that's where they say we need the type 3 incident commander and team. I would say that I have no different skill set than a type 4 incident commander, except for I have a team that comes with me that's already designated. So we come up there and it's like, okay, you meet with the current incident commander, the type 4, if you will, who was a battalion chief for the city of Boulder. And he's like, hands it to you. Generally what you see when a fire is escalating is the current incident commander is like, here you go. And they just want to go because they've been getting their butts kicked. Generally, the fire is escalating and escalating rapidly. The incident commander is pretty excited to get out of the hot seat. But we rarely let them out of the hot seat that quickly because we need to get all of our things in place. So we boost for a while. And what we mean by boost is we jump in, and as our team is arriving, and it usually takes, we're usually about 2 hours to organize and mobilize. Because they got to go get our trailers, which have all the toys and goodies and all the things, and the giant printers. So we kind of start coaching and sort of saying, hey, did you think of this? But we don't have the authority yet. We haven't assumed authority. And there's all sorts of weirdness in Colorado. Everybody knows Colorado is a home rule state, right? Which means basically each jurisdiction has statutory authority over certain things. What's interesting in Colorado is the sheriff actually has statutory authority over wildland fire. Now, in every state is different. If you go to Texas, it's the county judge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so let's just look at this. So the county judge and the sheriff, I'm pretty sure did not grow up in wildland fire. And neither of them really want that statutory authority. So they have to build programs or contract with their fire department. They have to come up with a way that they manage their statutory authority. But it gets even weirder because home rule generally builds, we just call them little fire fiefdoms. In Boulder County, there are 29 fire agencies. Most people don't know that. So about 10 years ago, House Bill 20 went through when one of the fire chiefs said, I don't want the sheriff coming in and telling me what to do, because this is my dirt. Got House Bill 20 passed, which said that the sheriff can only assume authority if the fire department wants to get rid of it. And that's either because of money or capabilities. And money is always the driver. As soon as you order aircraft, that stuff's expensive and no fire department wants to pay for it. Frankly, the sheriff's department doesn't want to pay for it. So here's where it gets even weirder. The sheriff, set by statute, has to take it, but then they are going to say, okay, I have to, but then they're going to try and bring the state in, the state of Colorado, the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. They bring them in. And they've got to delegate it to the state, and then the state's willing to pay for it. They don't want to manage it, so they have to delegate it to a team. So all of this has to happen in the background while the fire is going. So we have to have a delegation with the fire department, the sheriff with the state to the incident management team. And as a type 3 incident commander, that's my job, is to manage that stuff. So I come in, I meet with whoever's got statutory authority for the fire. For the NCAR, it was the city of Boulder. But it was also Mountain View Fire Protection District, which manages El Dorado Springs. It didn't burn into their district, but it threatened it. So we always bring them in, and we have to sit down and come up with a delegation of authority, which is how we're going to do things. What are we going to do things? And most importantly, what's my checking account look like for this? Because I need to know what I can spend. So I take all of that and they say, okay, well, we got critical infrastructure power here at the NCAR Mesa facility up there. They point out some things and I take that and I develop a set of objectives. And I give that to my operations chief, who is the person that actually runs the fire. He's the person managing all the things that are happening on the ground. All I do is sort of draw a box, say, keep it in here, watch out for these things. Don't spend more than this. That's kind of my general. And normally that's a pretty manageable, easy thing to do. We've got a lot of it we can, we move it up and down. We'll come back to Marshall and we'll talk about some of the challenges we face there. But when we go from type 3 to type 2 and type 1 and type 2 are national incident management teams. They're the big leagues. So like type 3, we'll just say we're kind of like AAA ball. So we're pretty good at what we do on scaling up and down. We're the Band-Aid because generally in type 3 world, the fire is either rapidly escalating and going well beyond, and we need a big team. So that takes 36 hours. Best case scenario. So we're hanging on for dear life, trying to keep people from getting dead. Or we're trying to keep firefighters out of trouble because we're on the wind down and we're still putting out some of the smoke, but the fire's not growing anymore. We got line all the way around it. And firefighters, if they're not actively engaged, will find something stupid to do. We're really good at that. Wandering around the woods with chainsaws, 10 to 20-something guys and gals. So it's a lot of that. So when we go to type 1 and type 2, these teams are very organized. They are, you apply. I actually just this year got onto a type 2 team after 14 years of applying. And I've got a pretty solid resume. So that kind of speaks to, the quality and caliber of people. So when you bring in the big teams, what you can expect is about, like my type 3 team is about 30 people. On a type 2 team, it's about 130. On a type 1, it's about 250. That's people just to support the incident. That's not people fighting the fire. So when you get to type 1, what you can expect is $1 million a day just for the overhead to run the fire, not to fight the fire. That's just what it's going to cost you to bring in the structure, the small city of finance people and contract people and all the things that happen. So it's pretty interesting how quickly we can scale up and scale down again because of our incident command system, which says have the right size organization for the right fire. And how we do that. So as we look again, locally and nationally, it's either wet, it's dry, you can go, you can't. And when you are not part of a team of mercenaries, I called myself for years, I would go out as different positions, but it's pretty fun. I've actually gotten to fight fire in 32 states. I've been to Mexico, I've been to Canada. Wait for the Hawaii sign. I'll actually be doing prescribed fire in St. Thomas and St. John next year, which will be pretty fun and somewhat terrifying because there's bugs. And the reason I've never left Colorado is I'm not a big fan of gigantic bugs. But different story. So that's the way the system goes up and down. And as we start to look around in Boulder, again, with the 29 fire departments, working for the city, it's very interesting because most metropolitan fire departments don't have a wildland division. There's a very stark line in the sand between wildland firefighters and structure firefighters. So we go up the street, or that go street that way, to Station 2. That's one of our wildland stations where the guys are structurally qualified. They also do wildland because they're close to Chautauqua. So we have 8 stations in the city, and each station has specialties. But most of the structure guys really are not fans of doing wildland. They are very specifically trained by the fire and box, do medical calls and rescue calls, and they have a very broad skill set, and they're very talented and good at what they do. But there's the pendulum is swinging, but for many years, wildland was sort of like, oh, that's those guys. If you look at most pictures of wildland firefighters, we've got a dirty yellow shirt on. Most of us have some sort of Civil War facial hair. Working for a fire department, I can no longer have a beard, which makes me very sad. But when I work for the Forest Service, it's definitely one of those things. But when you look at the divide, it is there. And one of the reasons that they identified about 15 years ago that the city's very good at structure fire. They're very good at rescue. They're very good at hazardous materials. They're good at all the things that they were doing except for wildland. There was the biggest threat to the city by the study that you need more wildland firefighters. So they actually hired us in. And so now our job is, because the city owns land, all the heck and gone all over the place, and not only in Boulder County, but actually in other counties. It's our job to work with the fire protection districts that have jurisdiction over city lands to help them with training and qualifications and help build their response network. So it's a pretty cool program in the city of Boulder that we have this group of 8 guys that work out at Station 8, which during COVID, if you ever watched any of my news interviews, I get a lot of questions because I have a hat that says H8. Where it's like, why do you have a hat that says hate? Because during COVID, when all the budget crunch originally happened in the city, we lost our headquarters building. And all of the chiefs moved into our station. Great, huh? So now it's called Headquarters 8. And we were not very happy that the chiefs moved in with us. And so when we came up with a hate, it's just our gentle jab back at our chiefs. But they're actually building a new station for them. But it's very funny. They get a lot of questions from all over the place. Why are you wearing your uniform and a hate hat? It's not hate. It's Headquarters 8. So we stick to that. So the benefit of us having these guys with, on average, 20 years plus federal experience working in the city is we can rapidly escalate. So what we were able to do on NCAR and Sunshine and the Flagstaff fire and some of the other large fires that we've had around the city is very quickly implement plans that we spend a lot of time building in the background. And as we work our way through those processes, right now we've been working off of the old school paper maps for a long time. We're just now getting ready to move into this big new software package, and it's going to help us with some of the things that we identified during Marshall. And I guess this is a good time as any to sort of jump over to Marshall. Marshall was a brutal day. Up for a lot of reasons. During most of my time as a firefighter for the Forest Service, it's a seasonal gig, and frankly, being a seasonal guy is one of the things I miss the most about working for the forest, because you work for 5 months, you get a month off. And I worked as a ski patrol director at Eldora, so I was running ski patrol at Eldora. So you were five months skiing, and you get a month off. So you get 2 months off a year, get to reset your job. It's kind of a cool thing. I was the director at Eldora during the shooting when the general manager got shot. And so every year, December 30th, we go up, that's the day of the shooting. A bunch of us old patrollers that no longer get to do it. We climb up the mountain and we go to his memorial, and we we have words and we chat with his kids, and it's a thing. And it's just more of a celebration. That's how my day started on the 30th. So a bunch of us go up, we come down, we're skiing down. It's like that. Looks like the wind is gonna be pretty good, because we've been watching the forecast, and they've been saying 30 to 40 miles an hour. Right? It's pretty dry, but it's December 30th. It's gonna be fine, everything will be fine. And we'd staffed up a little bit, but I was like, I'm taking the 30 off, because it's the day. But we're coming down, and my phone starts blowing up. Literally, I'm skiing down the hill, and they're like, we're getting winds twice what the forecast is. And like, okay, great. We've got a friend in from out of town who's actually, I've known, I was his camp counselor as a Boy Scout on Catalina Island. He was my little brother's best friend. He followed me into the fire service. He's got a career job in California, and he just got hired. So he was here during his interview process, and I was supposed to be hanging out with him. And I'm like, sorry, man, I gotta go to work. He's like, I get it. And we sit back down in my house. I grab the gear, I drive down. By the time I come out of the canyon, there's a fire north of Boulder. So again, they're type 4 incident commanders screaming for help. It's like, okay. Called them up, said, do you want the team? Yes, yesterday. And we mobilized up there. And first thing I did was grab my work truck, pulled up to the fire, opened the door, and the door got ripped off. Well, folded forward to the point where it wouldn't come back anymore. Like, okay, well, that's not your everyday occurrence. And, you know, having been on, you know, the old stage and old stage 2 and old stage 3, you know, our general 65, 75 mile an hour wind fire days. It's like, okay, it's gonna be one of those, you gotta remember to put your chin strap on your hard hat before you step out of the car. Otherwise, the hard hat just goes away. So we're spooling up on that, and all of a sudden we hear the call at 11:09 that there's a power line down and smoke visible at Marshall and 93. First engine goes out. They can't find anything. They do find a power line down at Marshall Road on 93. There's so much dust and debris though. The guy that actually was the engine captain that day. It's a guy I've known for 20 plus years and has solid a lot of the guys. Can't see anything, but he also says it's really difficult to see due to the conditions. And another 11 minutes later, they finally find fire, they think. Still a little hard to discern because they had this power line down, turned out to be a communications or telephone line. So they ended up actually just chopping it, getting it out of the road because the road hazard was creating. And it's city bound, and we're gonna jump on it. I think his words were, we found the fire, will be in quick attack, and should be able to handle with resources on scene. 2 minutes later, he called back and said the fire had spotted to a grass field behind the next house. So we're now about 15 minutes into the incident. And he calls back and says, I need 10 engines, 10 water tenders, and some overhead. So some middle management. Big order, right out of the gate. Not huge, but it's one that you kind of go, and it's especially from somebody you trust. And that's what a lot of this game is. When we know the people that are experienced and dialed versus newer in the game. When you hear the old guard say, send me the things. Yeah. And we were doing pretty good on the fire up on North Middle Fork, I think we ended up calling it. And I'm kind of listening to that. I look over and I can actually see the smoke now. And we start looking around and say, oh boy, this has got potential because, you know, just pay attention.
Just giving you times.
Oh, 3 or 4 minutes? Easy. So the fire very quickly moved. At 19 minutes, we had a state wildlife officer get passed on Marshall Road when he's driving above the speed limit by the fire. this time wind gusts NCAR are, from NCAR are like 115 to 118 miles an hour. And very quickly, this thing became what it was. In total, it was 31 minutes from the 911 call to the Sagamore neighborhood being obliterated. I guess the reason I'd say, talk about some of this and the scalability of this is we were able to go from 0 to the type 3. And we had 177 engines from 54 agencies within 5 hours. We scaled up extremely quickly. It's hard to say as any fire is a success when you lose life. We lost 2 lives. But I had ordered portable morgues for 500. Because that's where I thought we were going, when fires are moving that fast. So, never even ended up filling that order. Law enforcement, fire partners came from all over the state. And we scaled that thing up quickly, and we lost 1,084 homes. We lost 51 commercial structures. And only 2 lives. So it's hard, again, it's hard to say it was a win. I don't know how we could have done much better. So as we wrap this thing up, when we start to look around, pay attention to the fire departments you live and work in, or the areas that you live in. Get to know them, figure out what their challenges are. The things that the Rotary does for their community is pretty impressive. I was sitting around last night with a friend. We have a Tuesday night deal. We sit around and shoot stuff as we normally do. And I was telling him I was doing this, and he's like, "What's the difference between all these clubs?" And it's Rotary and yeah, and so we started Googling the heck out of this because I'm like, honestly, all I know is that it's a thing that a bunch of people get together and try and help their community. That was the extent of what I knew. And it was really impressive to read what the Rotary does and what the four-way test. That's a really cool thing as a baseline. And I just want to say thank you for what you do. And when next time you see the engines rolling down the road, realize we might be going to a medical or we might be going to the next Marshall. So make sure your house is prepped, make sure you got a go bag, make sure you sign up for reverse 911s and clean your gutters.
One question. We got time for one question.
Okay. Did you ever find a point of origin or who lit the match for Marshall?
So we have a very good idea where it started. Everybody saw the videos that were put on the news of the barn burning. Now, there's some very compelling evidence that there might have been 2 starts at once. One of the news channels did some investigation saying that there were 2 reports going at the same time. Honestly, I'm not a cop. I don't want to be a cop. My job is to fight the fire. Whenever everybody asks me what caused the fire, and my generic, snarky, smart aleck response is heat. So I don't know, but I do know that there's some interesting stuff, and I can't take more questions if you want to refer it.
No, I think we're just out of time.
Awesome.
But, we really appreciate you being here as a token.
Oh, wow.
And so you'll remember us over all the other organizations, of course. Nice paperweight, but it does have the Rotary gear, and the whole world has obviously been traveling a little bit lately. So enjoy, and yeah, we'd love to have you back more. So definitely let us know if you want to come back and join us and just hear some of our sessions. We also put these on YouTube, so your talk today is going to be on the internet.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
I don't think I swore, so.
No swearing. You're good.
All right, where's your blue cups?
Oh, they've been collected. They're in the
All
back
right,
corner there.
put that happy bucks, that's the rain.
Thank you. It was a great talk today, great location, great to have you all back. And as always, it's Wednesday at Rotary.
Oh,
Well, starting here. That's the bigger problem. There, you can be anywhere